this meeting to order. First order of business, swearing in of Councillor Donna Tanaka as Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, bring.
If you want to do the wave, you can.
Yeah. We have a picture, so you're gonna take a picture? Richard?
Richard?
No picture? No picture.
No, that's the swearing in.
I got my phone.
No.
I can take a picture.
Okay, right hand. And repeat after me. I, Donna Tanaka,
I, Donna Tanaka,
do swear that I will diligently,
do swear that I will diligently,
faithfully, and to the best of my ability,
faithfully, and to the best of my ability,
execute according to law
execute according to law
the office of Deputy Mayor
the office of Deputy Mayor
for the town of High Prairie from
For the-
August 1st, 2015 to August 30th, 2015.
huh?
Go. The office of Deputy Mayor
Deputy Mayor
for the town of High
for
Prairie
the town of High Prairie
from March 1st, 2015
from March 1st, 2015
to October 30th, 2015.
to October 30th, 2015.
I do.
I do. I've already signed.
Smile.
Oh, you have?
That's fine.
Congratulations.
No, only one other municipality does that,
That what?
has a public.
Swearing in?
Swearing in for the.
I think this is a very important part of the duties, is to acknowledge the fact that the mayor and the deputy mayor are both positions of some responsibility for the town. And it works.
Adoption of the agenda and any additions. Deputy Mayor Tanaka.
Yeah. I make a motion to adopt the agenda with the addition of the Mayor's Caucus meeting.
I also have addition. I would like an in-camera personnel added. And CEO.
Discussions on that? Is there one person who can provide or?
Not until we go to him.
Okay.
I'd also like an in-camera on the utility comparison that was discussed at the last meeting, and I was told I couldn't learn anything about it unless it goes in camera. Those are the two items I would like added.
So that's 9A, 9B, or 9A, and then the one that Donna added will be where?
Under business arising, I'm assuming, 3B1.
Notice
No.
of upcoming meeting, 7-2.
Okay.
Yeah, 17 would be.
7-2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was there? I only have an issue of the personnel myself. I don't, I'm not sure. I feel uncomfortable going in camera if, when was it handed in? Did it meet deadline?
It was handed in 2 weeks ago and did not meet the deadline at that point,
Okay.
and therefore should have appeared on this one.
Any further? Seeing none, all those in favor? All right. And so, we have adopted the agenda with the additions, brings us to 2A, scheduled delegations, 15 minutes each. And I know that there's important issues for the CRC. We will try to be a little more lenient, but if you can make it to 15, that'd be great. Thank you.
I'm Lois Dunn, I'm the board chair for the CRC. I'd like to thank you for giving us this time. Just a little history, I guess. The CRC came to town council in 2008 and asked for tax exemption for the land that they had. The council at that time said that they would not give the tax exemption, that they would go through the Municipal Act of number 347-1, and that was to give a reimbursement. Even though this did not apply to us, all through the following years, we have questioned the principle. And then on November 19th, when Warren Powers did a presentation, he explained to us that the principal act that we should be under is number 362.1. The CRC read through this act, and we comply with all the opt regulations. Thus, we feel we should not have to pay or be tax exempt for all our lands. Yes, there are papers that we need to fill out for this copter, but since it took 2 months for the town to get them to us, I am requesting that the CRC be exempt for the modular land and the house of furniture land that was recently purchased, in compliance with the Municipal Act of 362. We have asked town for town representation so they would understand what the CRC is and what it does for the town of High Prairie. For this year, we are asking for exemption for our properties until the copter can be applied. Do you have any questions?
Mayor Cox.
You have said you wanted an exemption for the modular land, the modular home that's, the land that the modular home
Correct.
building is sitting on.
Yes.
Is that one piece of land or is that got 2 titles?
Actually, that's what I'm speaking to next, is the, is that land piece.
So there are 2 pieces?
There are 2, well, no, there is one. The town subdivided the property without our permission, we have no signatures on that. So we purchased a piece, and the other piece, was from the town. And the town does have a caveat on that land, you don't have a copy. When Crystal was here, she gave you guys notice that it was only an ATCO, but I have it here, so I'll provide that for each of you. But now that they were joined, we are kind of in an inquiry because part of the land was purchased privately. Minister of Culture has let us know that the $38,000 is to go back to the Minister of Culture. Regardless of what happens or who purchases the land or if the land goes back to the town. They're fine with that if it goes back to the town, but the $38,000 has to be recovered because that was a private purchase.
Let's go back again. There's 2 pieces of land there now.
There's one now.
There's 1 piece of land.
Yeah.
The
Originally
taxes
there
on
was
that
2.
1 piece of land is $30,110.
Is, pardon me?
Yes.
3,000 you said?
Yeah.
$3,110.
Yeah.
That's how much it is. In your conversation, you said you're also asking for forgiveness of the taxes on the house of furniture building.
Correct.
That's not in this presentation.
We sent a letter in November, and when we were here at council, that was one of the things that we did mention when we didn't get here till December. We were told by Kelly and the treasurer at that time in November that we needed to get the letter to you guys and give you a deadline before November 30th for budget considerations. And that's what we did, but we didn't get to council until December.
Okay, how much is the taxes for the house of furniture?
We've been asking the town, but they won't give us an amount until July. So I don't know
Okay,
what they
so
are.
there's still house of
We
furniture.
acquired the property in November, taxes were paid up
How
in
much were
November.
they before that, do you know? Last year's?
The $10,000.
10 grand, okay, approximately. Okay, go back
Yeah.
and explain the business with the modular again. You bought the 1 piece of land,
We bought, one property from a private landowner.
and
The
that cost
town-
you,
$38,000.
so there's 1 piece that was
Plus we gave them a charity receipt.
Okay,
Anyway, it's the $38,000 we have to recover.
right. Then the
The
town
town
gave
ac-
you another chunk of land.
The town, gave us the adjacent property. They, in terms of they did a subdivision and they amalgamated the two properties. We didn't have we have nothing on that.
So
It was
now you
just-
have
we
one
got
title.
notice. One title.
Mhm.
For the whole piece of land.
And it's a real mess because when the Minister of Culture, they were tracking all this, it took probably, it was more than 60 days for them to figure out what had transpired and if it was one title, if it was still two, what was going on, because as far as they're concerned, they just care about that 38,000 being recovered. And they have no problem of who it goes to. In terms of recovery time, as I mentioned to Kelly and the treasurer in the fall, and to the councillors that we talked about when we were looking at the new property, we can't have two properties. We can't afford to sustain that. The minister approved the change of scope. We came to council and we came to you guys and said, this tax thing is gonna be an issue. Will you work with us? Because this is not an expense we can afford. We won't purchase this other property if it's going to be an issue, or you think it's going to be of any concern to council. At that time, council didn't think it was going to be an issue. They wanted to work with us. They were very positive, and so we moved forward. We didn't have a lot of time, and we couldn't make it completely public at that time. So basically, we're just asking for, I guess, compassion in the next 6 months. The money does have to be recovered. That's why, again, we applied in the fall for your budget, because that 38,000, if the town wants the land back, would have to go to the Minister of Culture before June 30th of 2015. More than likely, they will turn around and apply that to the matching for our project to finish out the considerable repairs and renovations that have had to be done with the house furniture. With this melt, it's a disaster. The roof is it's full of water. So it's been so yeah, we've had to replace all the heating and cooling systems. There's no heat in there right now. And all the renovations inside. But so far we are operating within our budget, which is good. We've secured a considerable amount of funding, hopefully, to move the modular, as the development permit laid out, to move the modular and all the units that are there over to the new property and get them serviced. Right now we're looking at about approximately $6,000 shortfall, but as long as we don't get too many other costs, we should be able to cover that under our existing facility budget. And if all else fails, then we'll just get a line of credit from the bank. It's not an exorbitant amount, and we've been with them for quite a long time, so we probably can fund it that way. But that's our intent, is to move that. Unfortunately, that building was given to us, and we have to keep it in place.
I have one more question regarding the future. The taxes will be $10,000 approximately on that building over there. Are you expecting this COPTER grant, this community organization property tax grant, to cover that? Do you think that the chances of you being successful with this grant? Well, this is an exemption regulation.
Yeah, in looking at the exemption regulations, we apply, there's not one part of the entire regulation that we don't apply.
So council will not have this problem next year because it's a provincial regulation.
Yes.
And that's what we're saying, is that there's this, and this was addressed not just by us. Lois made a little bit of an error in saying that the CRC came to council. Children's Services approached administration and said, why are they paying taxes? Like when they gave us the building and we got the land together for the building, why are they paying taxes? They're exempt. There was a lot of kind of feet dragging or whatever, and they just said, this is the way we're gonna do it. We're gonna go through this grant process, this 347.1. We assure you, we're not gonna make them pay the entire amount of property taxes. This is how we're gonna do it. It was kind of just a deal the CAO made with Children's Services, and so they said, okay, we're giving them the modular. It's good. We won't have to worry about them. and then, 8 years of, yes, writing the letters and then getting it back has been, it's worked. But we've still had to, in our budgets, a lot for the, some of the levies that are contained in that. Under this, we won't have to come to council anymore, hopefully. We provided you with, just the certificates and that kind of thing, as well as the caveat, because I understand the town doesn't have it. So we have a copy, so we're providing that to you on the other land. And, yeah, we're just asking for you to kind of work with us over this next 6-month process and try to make this as easy as possible in terms of our budgets.
So what's gonna happen to this land? Are you putting it up for sale as soon as you move that modular?
No, well, Quentin had mentioned at the last meeting, cause you probably remember the caveat, this goes back to the town, and I said, yeah. And the treasurer had said, we're gonna talk about that in January, but we didn't hear anything
So
back.
at this point, we're still talking what's gonna happen with this land.
Yeah, but we're kind of, that's why we first came to you guys, when we first started looking at the building, and we came back and sent the letter in November, came back in December, because we have until June 30th to get all of this resolved, and it's not very far away.
And so the amount that's here, 3,110, is that for 2015? That is the.
Yes.
Yes.
This is, so it, actually, if you're out of there, this 3,100 should be cut in half if you're out by 6 months.
Well, would depend, we're hoping to get the building moved, I can get the building moved within a month, as long as Children's Services releases the funds, for the move. However, it's up to the town, right, to see when if you guys take the land, when you take the land, then that's how much
So
you're responsible
this
for.
amount is for a full year, and it may not even be that amount.
So
Okay,
we
so
don't.
you're asking for tax relief for the 2015 year for a certain portion of time, and you're really not sure how much it is. I understand.
Any other questions?
So I did discuss the last time you guys were here, and my hope would be that administration would have come to you and said, okay, so the lot was $38,000, whatever receipts or improvements you had done, that was the discussion I made, that we'd reimburse and purchase it back at whatever you had done. I can't make that promise, but that's what I was hoping would happen. And then back in January, there was a discussion again between myself and one other counselor in administration about getting them to approach to see what it would be. What would be the cost, what's gonna happen.
All we're really looking at is recovering the 38,000, quite frankly. I don't think, in terms of Children's Services, the money's gone. That's different budget years from a long time ago, so at this
Okay.
point, the only number that we're really concerned about, is that, but if, we have paid some taxes on that property, we've done a lot of improvements, so if you can give us that consideration for this year on the 2 properties, in terms of taxes, that would be very helpful. And you're gaining a property that's worth a heck of a lot more than that, and it's service now.
Yeah,
So
like
I don't think we're asking for.
we have first right of refusal is what we have on it. And when it was amalgamated, although it was a mess, I'm hoping in the end it actually benefit CRC, because then you have double or triple the amount of land, so hopefully its value has increased.
The purpose was to build,
Yeah.
and it just wasn't enough time to raise that, as much money as we needed for the facility that we needed. With this facility, we're able to apply, entire major facilities, plus the money that we've got in, I guess professional services in kind and cash, and it should all balance out, and hopefully we have that facility for a long, long time. But in terms of the copter exemption, there is no part of that regulation where I can see, or municipal affairs can see, that we wouldn't comply. Just in terms of our services, the charitable work that we do, the contract work that we do, the facility is still open for a number of other services that are open to the public at any time. So, a small example is the HAMPER program. That's seniors, single people, people with kids, people without kids, and we do that every year for the town of High Prairie at no expense to the town. Whereas the MD does theirs, and they take on that expense. We fundraise for it, and we provide the hampers, as well as the toys. We work with business partners, like Monahan Ford's been a huge partner in that. But that's just one of the services: clothing, food, finding people housing, connecting them. Like, we work very closely with Heart services. So in terms of building community capacity over the last 20 years, I think we've done a lot of good work. And most of what we do is we don't require membership for anything that we do. And all that we do is pretty much open to everybody. Specific contracted services are for specific individuals. However, the facility itself is open to anyone. And in terms of just a recent initiative, we're working with the Food Bank and Alberta Works. We're doing a community kitchens program. And there's no requirement somebody have kids or not. And the idea is to use that facility to deliver that program on an ongoing basis. So, any other questions specific to?
So go back now to the house furniture. You now own it, for 2015. What is your intent for those taxes?
For like up until the
From
fall? Or
January to.
from January till September, till hopefully we get the,
Well,
or for the
CO
whole year.
the community organization property tax exemption will be for next year.
Yeah.
So
So
you
that's what
actually
we're
have
asking for consideration for is for 2015.
for both properties.
Yes. Well, hopefully we don't have the other one for the entire time.
You won't
but-
have that one for the entire
But
time,
yes.
but you will have that one for
Yes.
the entire time.
Yes.
And that one is around 10,000.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
And
what you-
considering improvements, I almost guarantee it's gonna be more.
I don't know if you'll have the.
In 2016, but not this year.
Yeah, you won't see that.
Yeah. So that's what we're asking for is consideration on that. And
Now,
that's,
we will be dealing with this in section 5A, V5, coming up on the agenda, and so.
so will Kelly, will you be in contact with us then to let us know if
What-
there's any more information we need to provide?
What the
or-
decision of council is, I'll let you know.
Okay, so do you want me to just leave these or give you guys these
I have
copies?
copies.
Okay, I don't know, you may not have these, so I'm just gonna leave these here.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just give these to
Yeah,
you,
okay.
there's 3 copies for everybody.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you very much. Public delegations are allowed 5 minutes. Do we have any public delegations?
Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Councilors, Kelly. I'm here tonight to just talk about this water sewer rebate thing that you're doing infills. And I've had some problems with the treasurer. Seems to have more power than what he should have. He refuses to pay for the rebate on the water sewer program. And I've come in to see him, he's not in on Mondays, he's not in on other days. You come in to see him, he wants to do by email, you try to email him, he doesn't return. And it's come down to tonight where you're gonna meet on it, and it's just, I'm wondering how a guy has so much power when he shouldn't have the power. When the CAO and he signs off on this project, and Superintendent of Public Works signs off on this project, he still refuses to do his job. It's like, what do you do? My job site, you'd be gone. So, that's all I've got to say.
I'd like to ask, didn't we already deal with this?
No, we dealt with one last year, this is a new one.
Okay, but not like last month, 2 meetings ago, didn't we have something like this on the
No.
agenda?
No, it's the first time.
Seem to recall.
Councilor Panasi.
Daryl, can I just ask, like, I'm just curious, like, we have a policy that says if the water line is less than 3/4 of an inch when you get a new property, we'll pay up to 4,000 on a 50-50 split basis.
450, or up to 4,000.
Yeah, 50-50 basis, up to
Yep.
4,000 for that. Was the line that was in this under
They're-
3/4 of an inch? Is that why?
Yeah, they're pretty much 1/2 inch or 5/8, I think. I mean, I don't wanna go and dig into there, it costs a fortune, it's like 12,000, 14,000, the
Yeah.
theater cost me 30,000 to do that. So I would rather not go to the street, but that's what the town policy is. I've got another project up 56th again in spring and summer, and I just as soon go to the property line. If you're willing to do that, I have no problem with that.
I'm kidding, we want you to go right out to the street.
But I prefer to go to this property line. And I've bought another lot, and I'll have to do another infill, and I think that's what this policy was brought in for more development in the old neighborhoods, bring new houses in there, and it's just been a hassle with your treasurer.
The house is there, the services are in.
Yep.
The comment that we're not really sure that the services went to that house. I'm not really sure why that would be a comment. So,
That's about all I have to
thank
say.
you for coming, and I for one appreciate the fact that you are building infills and that they are selling. And I know sometimes it's kind of, yeah, whether they're gonna sell or not, but people
Yeah.
are stepping up and buying them.
Well, that's another thing, we had another conversation with him one day, and he's just deterrent on, I was even told that we don't care if there's development in here. I think it all stems from, we had an argument that I was trying to tell him that we need more houses, we need more buildings, we need more tax money coming in, and, I mean, he signed off on the other project, this one, I think he's got a chip on his shoulder now, but.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate you coming.
And we encourage everybody to stay if you'd like. This is so exciting. Bye. And we move on to the minutes of regular council meeting, February 10th, 2015, page 6 of the agenda, item 3A on the agenda tonight. We've all done our homework. Deputy Mayor.
I make a motion that council approve the minutes from the February 10th regular meeting of council as presented.
Discussion. Councilor Andrew.
I noticed at the end of the minutes, it says Councillor Rose. Oh, sorry, I got it, it's okay.
So you noticed that?
Yeah.
That's good.
I did have one question. I thought there was a motion made by Councillor Carrier regarding the utilities to be brought back with an institutional rate.
I thought that was Councillor Rose. I know there was discussion on it, I don't know if there was a motion.
Yeah, and that wasn't
Unless that was the last meeting.
No? Okay. I just thought there was a motion, but.
Mr. Chair, the motion was made, but the motion was withdrawn.
Oh.
The motion was made, and the motion was withdrawn.
Okay.
Right.
I see nods and heads. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. And on to 5A, Finance. Councilor Enter.
Make a motion that council receive the following reports for information: statement of operations ending December 31st, 2014, operating budget additions, deletions from interim capital budget, approved interim resolution 769/14, plus resolved additions and list of grant resolutions from February 3rd, 2015, special council meeting.
Any discussion? Nicely done, I see it's in color. It's good.
So, can you explain what exactly are we looking at here? Just a recap of the budget as it stands now?
Yes, and then the additions that you added, the things that you added to the during the process, yes.
Okay. But it's still not finalized,
This is an interim budget.
still an interim budget? Okay.
Councilor Enter.
Do we know the date? I think that's later in the agenda when we're actually gonna sit down and
Yes,
talk
that's
about it.
later, yeah.
when we do come back and sit down on it, I'd like to, if you can have information why it went up 440 grand. I know some of the answers, but overall, when I look at total operating expense, actual versus budgeted, we're looking at a $450,000 increase over last year. Now there were some changes made, but it's a big increase, even percentage wise. So I'd like a breakdown.
Just for my sake, are you talking about actuals compared to the 2015 budget?
Yeah.
But there's the 2014 budget compared to the 2015 budget is actually less.
But when we're looking at if I only spent $10, I'm next year planning 14.
I see what you're saying.
Like what is the difference? Is it a buffer that we put in every year just in case?
I know you want, I think I know some of the answers too.
Yeah, but in advance warning, right? So we prepare ourselves.
Yeah.
Any further discussion, any questions? Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
Mr. Chair, just in anticipation of some of the resolutions that you may have to make going forward, one to deal with the redevelopment grant for 4,000. There is go to page 13. Let me be very helpful so that we're not very confused here. Because that discussion we'll have it again, but I just want to prepare your minds so that it's much easier for you to understand. So that's another capital budget. $4,000. We'll be asking for $4,000 to be able to make the redevelopment grant payment, right? Now, below that is $204,000. That's where you might get a little bit more explanation. The lift station budget is $2.2 million. We're expecting to spend, can you see that? Maybe?
No, I was looking at 13, but it's not on 13.
It's not 13 for you?
No.
13.
Page 13. It's on my 13.
This one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are
There.
you in this column? Oh, okay.
Maybe just pick that up. Do you see that down there? 4,000 and 204. And I'll explain it again, but let me just give you just a summary. So the lift station was 2.2 million. Okay. So we expected to spend about 1.7 million, but we ended up spending 1.5 million. So every money that we unspent, we can't spend it in the new year. So we budgeted 450,000 for the new year. But because we didn't spend the 200,000 in the old year, we'll be requesting for that $204,000 in the new year. Because that's the way municipal accounting works. Because you didn't spend it, it all just goes away. And then we need new authorization from council to up that money. But the entire budget for the lift station is still 2.2 million. But we spent less last year than we should have spent. Okay, but we'll go into that later on. So that's just a dramatic change.
Are we talking about the lift station later on?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Moving right along. Opposed? 08214 amending bylaw, page 16 of the agenda. And if we could have a motion for that.
I'll make a motion that council proceeds with the third and final reading for this bylaw 08-2014, this is the 24th day of February 2015.
Discussion. Councilor Hunter.
I was actually hoping we increased our bulk water costs substantially higher. Because when we did a comparison with other municipalities close by, we were vastly the lowest one.
Anybody wants to talk about that one?
Well, I agree with Councillor Emter. Is this the same bylaws was So what happened to the institution rate that was discussed? Did we decide we didn't want one, or,
Again, that motion was withdrawn.
and what was the rationale? I don't remember it being withdrawn, so you're gonna have to try to bring me up to speed again on what was the rationale as to why we didn't want an institutional rate.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, normally I won't go on, because some of these discussions, the resolutions are what's important, but my recollection is that Councillor Currier made the suggestion or the resolution, and then Councillor Panasic made the argument that it's not an integral part of the changes, and that it would be advisable to just move on with adopting the motion, the resolution as is, and then maybe in the future that can be considered. And based on that discussion, Councillor Currier withdrew the motion. And in fact, you make a good point, because we had to go back to the video, because I was of the opinion that the motion was made and it stood. We had to go back to the video to review it and to realize that the motion was withdrawn. So that was very, very tight.
Okay. And which brings me back to, okay, I understand, let's move on, let's get this done, get it implemented, and then bulk rate and institution. But I'm also of the opinion, and this, back to this, I asked for information, you're asking me to make a decision here, and I don't have enough information to make this decision, because I don't know what impact this is going to be on some of the ratepayers of this town. So, I won't support this amendment until I know what impact it has on the ratepayers. That's right, oh well.
Mr. Chair, I think, from my perspective, I mean, this is something we've given a couple of readings to. It hasn't changed. I don't know, I think there's room where we might wanna change this and grow with it, but if we keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, I mean, it'll be the end of the tax year because they need the 3 months notice, it's not gonna be implemented. From my perspective, I think we can approve it, make the adjustments. We will know maybe a little bit more as we move ahead, and if we hear any complaints from certain people, we'll know what they are and why. Right now, you can speculate on how it's going to impact different users, and we know that it's gonna hit some of the companies harder than others.
How do you know that?
Well, if I'm a company that relies on water for my business, it's gonna hit me harder than other ones. For example, if you're a car wash in town, it's gonna hit you harder than if you are Sunnyside Realty, right? You know, they don't use much more water, it's not gonna impact them much at all. They're probably gonna break even or maybe even be a little bit less. Whereas some companies will be a little bit more. There's no doubt about it.
Would it surprise you to know that Sunnyside Realty pays for all of the rental buildings in town that they manage? And therefore the water rates will impact on their business dramatically?
Well, that was just one example, but yeah, I'm just picking one.
I am
that's-
not
it
telling
will
you the
impact.
truth, but I don't know that.
I don't know.
And because I don't know it,
But it is
I
gonna
can't make
impact.
that statement.
It's gonna impact some businesses we know.
Mr. Chair.
Councillor Epps.
My questions are, I was hoping that when it came back, it'd be further development or alter, instead of just represented this time with color versus non-color or whatever else. I would like to see the bulk rate increase substantially, at least to the median of what other people in the area are charging. But what is the effect? Right now, schools, institutes, hospitals don't pay any property tax. So this will balance out a little bit, and that they're now gonna pay a lot more. Our rec board, which is funded by the residents of the town, is gonna have a $12,000 increase. So when, well, that'll come up later. We'll talk about that one later, right? So there are gonna be some that are gonna have impacts back and forth. How this balances out at the end is what I'm looking for. I'm not just looking for, this is what we're recommending. I'm wondering on a spreadsheet, what do you see as the overall effect? What do you see as a difference for us? So we're gonna bring in more money here, but we're told that taxes subsidize the water for a tune of $400,000. So let's lower tax $400,000 to match. Everybody loves that idea. Everybody agrees with that. That's a wonderful idea. But how does it really work? Because the schools, the hospitals, and all the rest don't pay the tax. The pool, the arena, whatever. But now they're going to pay a substantial increase in usage. What does that affect?
Obviously,
Like, what-
it's gonna have an effect
dollar
on their
wise.
bottom line.
Dollar wise, where I don't want to know what them individually, but I want to know. So okay, yeah, the rec, when we add up all their different facilities and the town facilities, this is going to be the hit to our budget, because we don't pay tax on this property, but now we're going to increase our utility rates, so our bills are going to go up. Tax is not going to go down for us, so it's going to be increased to our budget, right? So what is the effect? This is the big picture, but I just want to see the little things that happen to get it here. And maybe they've done all that work.
We've discussed that before, though, and we've discussed it a lot. I think that we all knew going into this that the taxpayers would be getting a break, I guess, or at least to allow us to reduce the mill. The ratepayers, and when you talk about institutions, yes, that's certainly a big issue, but the government of Alberta and the hospitals, they can't get a free ride, and we can't provide them with water that we're losing money on. What I look at, though, are the ratepayers, and a lot of the ratepayers who are renting and who are on that lower socioeconomic income or middle income or large families, they're going to be hit the hardest. And how does that impact them? Now, you had mentioned that it is one thing that they would be able to control, that they'd be able to have shorter showers, that all of those things. So we knew right from the get-go that there was going to be challenges for everybody, not just the rec board, not just the hospitals, but for every ratepayer in this community, there was going to be some hard decisions and some financial impact, but it was something that needed to get done. Were we prepared to go as high as the 60% right off the bat, or were we going to break it up into years? That's where all the discussion went. So we knew that there was going to be challenges.
My comments are more to, so if the rec board is an example, their water bill goes up $12,000. Well, the $12,000 was saved on tax won't be $12,000 because $6,000 that's got to be funded back, because now they're going to come back and say, well, we don't have that money, so we need more money. So what do we do? Right? There's going to be back and forth. Or here, where there's no tax, right, and we've increased our utility bill 30%, and now we're going to have to charge the ratepayers of the town more money to pay for that. So that's why I just want to see how the dots connect.
Or facilities have to manage their programs and their times and their hours of operation to fit what they can afford. We're living above our means.
Yep.
And we've got wonderful facilities, but can we afford them? And I've always stayed right from the get-go, no, we can't. And that's one of the biggest problems we have. And as long as the rec board is a separate entity, it minimizes our ability to actually address some of those issues. It should be in the town, as the Johnson report stated. But that's another issue yet. Councilor Knaus.
I'd like to just address his issue or concerns, because I think, yes, you're right, the rec board is going to have higher fees as a result of this for things like the swimming pool and the ice arena. There's no doubt, but from a town's perspective, that will be half paid by the MD. So, and right now, those additional costs are covered entirely by our taxpayers. So it is, I'm gonna say, shifting a little bit of the burden away there right now, cause right now, it's the taxpayers that are paying for the water treatment plant and supplying that water. This way, we will be getting some of the money from other users that will help subsidize some of that. Is it gonna make a huge difference? No, we know it's not. To the average taxpayer, it's not, because they're gonna, you know, their tax rate will come down, but the increased rates for utilities is probably gonna come out, you know, for them at the end of the year, close to balancing. But one of the key things about that, when you figure it all out, is that people are complaining about the tax rate. They're not complaining about the utility rates. Our utility rates, even with the increase, are still, you know, not exorbitantly high. It would bring our tax rate down in the future about 1 mill rate, which makes a big difference when we look at mill rates and comparing them across other communities. So I think, although this isn't going to, for the average taxpayer in town, isn't gonna make a huge difference, it will bring taxes down a little bit, because we will get extra dollars from non-taxpayer users of it. I mean, we know that will happen.
And I agree with that, I acknowledge that, and I actually do wanna see the water costs go up so people are more aware of water and hopefully conserve a little bit more. But my actual comment and request is for more information, so that when I look at our taxes of 3.3 million, it won't go down 400,000, because we now have to pay the added costs for the maintenance building, this building, the fire hall. Like, how much water they go through? You know, like, whatever departments that are run by the town, we now have to cover that added cost. So I'd like to see what the effect is. What is the end result? Is it gonna be a $250,000 decrease? Because if it's that, then it's like a 7.5%, 8% drop in the tax. But if you've just raised my water rate 15%, am I saving money?
No.
So that's what I wanna know.
But you have the, if I may, but you have the ability to control, to a
You can
certain
influence,
extent,
yes.
the rate,
Yeah,
the
I
amount
agree.
of water that you use. And that's something that was discussed right from day one when this was brought up. So it's not a surprise. Shouldn't be.
No, but I just ask for more information each time.
Yeah. So we're here at the third reading now. And it's something that everybody's been talking about that we needed to do. Any further discussion?
Recorded phone, please.
Recorded vote. Call the question, all those in favor? Well, those opposed? Defeated. Councillors Emter, Tanaka, and Mayor Cox are opposed. Massick, wrong, in favor.
I think we need to, just moving ahead if I may, we need to be very clear exactly what we need to move forward on this then. We voted it down, we need to be very specific on what we want moving ahead then. And I don't know if that's a discussion now or if that's a discussion at another point in time, but we need to be clear so we can move ahead on this and get it done.
Absolutely. As far as rec board goes, I mean, it's a matter of looking at your utility rates from this year and then seeing what the increases would be and just base the numbers on what you've used. So the math is pretty simple of what the impact's gonna be for whatever the facilities are.
I'm not worried about the rec, but we shouldn't be discussing unless we make a motion.
So, good point. On to the next,
Do we wanna make a motion on what we want for a bylaw?
if we want.
Or do we want to,
And that's my point. I think those that aren't in favor of this need
I'd
to
like to make a
specify
motion so
exactly
we can
what they
discuss
want.
this. I'd like to make a motion that council direct administration to come back with analysis of what, if this bylaw had passed, it would have meant for the taxpayer and the utility user in this town. What would have been the effect overall? So if we did increase our average utility bill for all town-owned facilities, 30% or town-funded facilities, and then, well,
No,
it's
no,
easy to do.
I'm just thinking of her trying to.
No, that won't be the whole motion. This is now a discussion phase.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so now this is the ideas of what I'm looking for, because now the museum, the library, everybody else that comes to us and wants money is now gonna ask for that extra money again, right? Or cut services, or limit what the opportunities are, yes, you gotta find a way to balance, I agree with you, Michael. So what I'd like to see is what are the effects if this had passed? What would have been the actual drop in taxes? And what would have happened with the revenue for utilities? And it's not as simple as it
I see
sounds.
a frown look.
It's difficult.
The resolution has to be clear so that administration can implement it. So when I frown, it's because I'm trying to grasp how I'm going to make it work. If you're talking about just how much the utility revenue goes up, it's simple.
Yeah.
If it's implemented about two, I think it's, the amount is there. And then you would have made, okay, so the actual amount that we needed to cover is 300,000. That's the actual difference. And then our projected amount was 417,000. But because we've been delaying this for a while, if we get into say June, then 50% of 417 will be $208,000. So our utility rate revenue will go up by $208,000, and then you will make a motion to reduce your tax revenue by $208,000, and hope that your assessment base doesn't increase enough, you know, to offset the benefits. So that's what it is.
I'm surprised that it was defeated based on the discussions and the constant discussion of lowering the taxes, and this was the way we could do it, and this was the way that it would be fair and equitable, that we'd all share the pain, and the taxpayers would get, business and homeowners would get that tax break. Now we've defeated it, and we're back to square one, or at least revamping and getting more information and getting less revenue. Doesn't quite follow. It seems like I hope that we're not getting cold feet on it. We know we need to do this. We need to. Councillor Epter, Councillor Panasic.
The motion still has time to pass. It could be done at the next reading, which would still be in time for the July 1st deadline. But the drop of taxes of 208,000 wouldn't equate. The increased revenue, of 208,500 wouldn't be a direct one-to-one transfer to decrease in taxes. We could do that, but we'd actually lose more money. So what I'm asking for is of that 208,000, if you want to use that number, how much can we expect to lower taxes? What are we expecting to do? And then at the same time, I'd like it that bulk water went to the median at least.
Well, and if you're revamping, let's look at that institutional rate. You're gonna bring it back one more time, and you're right, we do have time. You're looking for a July 1st implementation, you're gonna get 6 months of this.
Fair enough. Councillor Panasic, I have to stand, I'm sorry.
Yeah, when I'm looking at this, and that's the thing that worries me, is because I think different people have different ideas of what the bulk rate should be, what the institutional rate should be, what, you know, we've had discussions that maybe the flat rate should be lower and the other rate higher, and some people disagree, and it's been back and forth. To do it in this manner, we don't agree as a council, and we'll never get this through, in my opinion, unless we can have some sort of a discussion in a way where we can say, this is what we want, because we don't agree. People around this table don't agree, so we'll never pass this and get it through. And I guess maybe at one of our budget meetings we could talk about it some more, so we could say, we want it at this rate, this rate, and this rate, and then they could bring it back. If we can agree, then at least we can move along. But the way this is processing and moving ahead, we're never getting anywhere. That's where I feel we need to be very specific on what we want, and we need to agree. Because right now we don't.
Oh.
So, yeah, Mr. Chair, instead of beating this to death, is it possible to just let it go and let everybody reflect on what it is, cool off time? And when you are ready, let us know, and then we'll bring it back again. But we've been bringing this back almost every time since, October? It's been going on for some time. And when I talked to the treasurer, he said, why do you keep bringing this on? Why don't you just leave it till council is ready? So that's another way of looking at it. When council is ready, you can ask for it. It looks like this.
Well, I mean, there's a motion on the floor right now that Quentin wants some more information. We could bring that back, but I think we need to, when we make our budget discussion, perhaps we can have this as an agenda item so that we can nail it down and we can all agree. We've had several bits of information on what the median rates were and how this was going to impact, and that stuff has all been provided at one time. And maybe we can look at that and, as part of our discussions at that next meeting, nail down what we'd like to see if we can agree, and then we can have it brought back and go through the 3 readings, because it would be a totally different policy. That's my suggestion.
What was the motion?
Do we have the motion right back?
Sure, to direct administration to provide an analysis of the effect to the taxpayer if the bylaw 08/2014 passes.
Do you want for the budget meeting?
When is the budget meeting? We haven't set that yet.
You haven't, it's coming up to pick
It's
a date.
later on.
You would say for the upcoming budget meeting?
I'd like to amend it for the upcoming budget meeting, please.
Got to vote on the motion.
We're all clear on the motion? All those in favor? Carried. Uh, 5A3, page 27 on your agenda is the letter of comfort. Mayor Cox.
The council receives the High Prairie Golf Club request for the renewal of the 2015 existing loan guarantee and extends it.
That's right.
And extends it.
And extends it.
Just the loan guarantee or the operating line of credit?
And the operating line of credit.
Discussion. Councilor Panassa.
Just to help me understand, the loan guarantee is for the operating line of credit, is it not? No?
No, like, from my reading and understanding, sorry to interject, there was $150,000 loan, And the club has been making annual payments of $15,000 a year for 10 years plus interest. So they've paid the 11, the 12, the 13, the 14. So they're $60,000 in. But because we cannot enter into a contract greater than 1 year, it's come up. How the bank authorized us as a loan guarantor, when I guess we're not allowed to guarantee the loan for more than a year. So if they default in X year, then it comes back to us to pay it out. So right now, instead of being 150, it's whatever, 100,000, I'll say. I don't know what it is, right? Like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, $60,000 less. $90,000 owing still on the loan, which was for purchases of equipment. The operating line is used to operate the facility. Spring, they have no money. They run big debt. They try to pay it off by September. Come spring, they have no money. They gotta wait for memberships, tickets, all the rest.
Yeah.
We cannot guarantee it for more than 1 year at a time, so it comes back for the following year. The MD just gave them a $60,000 grant. They have a lot of renovations going on over the golf course. It's no headache to us. It costs us no money, just a guarantee. And it is worth $1.5 million or whatever. Right? We have no operating expense, not directly.
And they never come and ask us for a tax grant.
Not in the MD.
Any further discussion? Councilor Canasta.
I'm not we've got the loan guarantee and the operating line of credit, right? Where's the operating line of credit in this request for a decision? I might be missing it, but.
So there's a line of credit loan guarantee maximum amount of $60,000. That's just an
Right.
operating line. The actual term loan was the 150 minus the 4 payments.
Yeah, so there was $150,000 loan out, there was 60,000 in payments made, there's roughly
No,
90,000.
that's not 60,000 in payments. That's a $60,000 operating line. So that's just coincidental that
they were
they're both
both
safe.
okay, so when I was.
So
got
right
it.
now we owe, or not we, because I'm not there anymore, they owe $90,000 on their term loan, I would guess, and they'd like to keep their $60,000 operating line. And they're asking for confirmation again that we will guarantee the loan, so the bank doesn't call it on, and that we will guarantee the operating line in case they fold. And that's our only exposure to the golf course, which we own lock, stock, and barrel. Which again equates to a 10-to-1 investment. Oh.
Help.
Is he okay?
Is he okay?
I don't think so. Can we call a recess? 10-minute recess? Kelly,
Yes,
can we do that?
We'll call
Can
it
we call a
10-minute
recess? I think
recess.
Michael's not doing well. I think he's
Yeah.